Good morning, everyone. I'm Sherry Duffy, the Director of Learning for the Digital Transformation Center here at U of L, and I'm so happy to be with you today. I thought it only fitting to allow conversational artificial intelligence introduce the DTC and the program for us today. So I'm going to jump back and forth between ChatGPT's introduction and a little bit of mine. So before we jump into the AI intro, we have a few housekeeping items to attend to. Today's event is designed for you to pop in and out as you need throughout your busy day, because we have programming from 9:45 to 3 p.m. and the schedule is available on our webpage posted here in the chat. Your cameras and mics are muted, but we welcome questions via chat at the end of each session. We are recording this, and it will be republished on our website. So here is ChatGPT's intro to the Digital Transformation Center. As the world continues to evolve in the digital age, U of L is committed to providing valuable resources and knowledge to empower individuals and organizations on their journey of digital transformation. We are a hub of innovation, knowledge, and opportunity. It serves as a catalyst for change in the ever-evolving world of technology. And we understand that digital transformation isn't just a trend, it's a necessity for success in today's rapidly changing landscape. At the DTC, we're dedicated to equipping you with the skills and insights needed to thrive in this digital era. Some of this is mine coming up next, and some of it's ChatGPT. Whether you're a seasoned professional or you're just starting your journey, there's something here for everyone. So at the DTC, we have free learning opportunities, making micro-credentialing accessible for faculty, staff, students, and our community. Through our community partners, we're associated with the U of L Health Equity Hub. We were very fortunate. It's funded through Humana Foundation, as well as the University of Louisville, so that we can take our part to this, the DTCs, is we take technology out into the community and upskilling and reskilling in under-resourced areas. It's a vital part of what the DTC does. We could not do it without our senior training specialist, Jacqueline Williams. Thank you so much. Jose Nahara has just left from a role that was also serving that. Their skills and expertise out in the community is shifting our landscape. So if you haven't seen our Health Equity Hub and what we're doing, I believe it's going to be posted in the chat as well. For faculty, we host monthly information sessions to showcase how to embed digital credentials into courses here at the university. So when our students leave us, here's our hope that when they leave with that four-year degree, or they leave with their graduate degree, not only are they going to leave with that diploma, but hopefully they're going to leave with the latest cutting-edge technology micro-credentials that they can have. We want our beautiful students, our brilliant minds to go out not only in their field, but to have these extra credentialing on top of that diploma to set them apart and make them unique in this changing job landscape. Through our Learn page, community members, as well as faculty, staff, and students, as we said earlier, have many professional development opportunities with multiple tech vendors. We also have our summer badge of the month is running through September. So all faculty, staff, and students can enter to win this. So you go on and do our badge of the month, and then you are automatically entered to win a Kindle Fire at the end of the month. Don't miss out. We also have a newsletter that will drop in the chat where you can sign up so you can keep up to date on what the DTC is doing. Our website, especially our Learn page, is full of resources. Please don't miss out on those. The search engine in there is pretty good to get you to what you're interested in digital skilling. So here is ChatGPT's intro to today's programming. We're delighted to welcome you to the 2023 Fall Taste of Technology, proudly brought to you by the DTC. Get ready for an exhilarating journey into the realm of cutting-edge technology, because today we bring you a free virtual event that promises to be nothing short of extraordinary, featuring some of the biggest names in the tech world: Microsoft, Adobe, IBM, LinkedIn Learning, and Google. We're thrilled to have you join us on this digital adventure. These are Sherry's words. This event would not be possible without the many hours invested by Elena Fortunato Wright, our program manager at the DTC. Elena, thank you for your dedication and your passion for higher education and technology. If you haven't had an opportunity to meet her, she is the heart and soul of the DTC. She keeps it all running, and this is her special event that she puts on twice a year. I'm thrilled to be in her presence today. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Sherry.
We are back to generative AI talk. In this rapidly evolving technological landscape, staying up to date is not just an option, it's a necessity. That's why we've brought together these industry giants to share their insights and latest developments. One of the hottest topics in artificial intelligence today, generative AI. Generative AI encompasses deep learning models that have the remarkable ability to create high-quality text, images, and other content based on the data they've been trained on. It's the magic behind creative AI-powered applications, and it's changing the way we interact with technology. What you can expect from this event is an insider's perspective on our esteemed technology partners, Microsoft, Adobe, IBM, LinkedIn Learning, and Google. They'll provide exclusive insights into the world of generative AI. You'll hear about the latest tools, trends, and immense potential this technology holds. Don't worry about the technical jargon or the prerequisites. No tech skills are required. Each session is designed to be accessible to everyone, and we welcome all to join the conversation. Don't forget to drop your questions into the chat. And there's no cost to you, no additional cost to the U of L community. We're going to try to stay pretty close to our schedule here. So at 10 o'clock, we have Microsoft coming up, and our speaker will be Lincoln Hughes. Lincoln is a results-driven educational technology leader determined to provide the excellent education all students deserve. He's passionate about creating and collaborating and executing initiatives that improve student learning outcomes, especially those around collaboration and accessibility. He's motivated by the complex challenge of scaling solutions that prepare students for the 21st century, predominantly those related to underserved populations. His work intersects definitely with what we are doing here at the University of Louisville. Health equity permeates everything that we do. He's a strong believer in building empowering teams through capacity building, with a track record at developing strategic relationships externally and internally. Generative AI, a powerful technology that will help you create new and innovative solutions for organizations. With generative AI, you can generate natural language content, emails, reports, and chat responses. Build AI-powered copilots that can assist you with tasks such as coding, writing, and designing, and discovering insights from your data, such as text, images, audio, video, or graphs. Lincoln, I think we're 5 minutes early, and Ellen is going to have to tell me if I'm allowed to go early or if we need to wait for that 10 o'clock time frame.
As long as Lincoln is okay with that, I think we can just start. We have already 50 people connected, so Lincoln, feel free to start if you feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And Sherry, I am I guess relieved, but maybe excited, but relieved for the first thought in my head when I started listening to your introduction this morning, because so much of what I'll talk about is just like it's said much differently, but very much in the same spirit of what you were sharing. And I appreciate the permission you gave in there of some insider thoughts, because some of what I'll say today is definitely not, Microsoft marketing, but kind of my thoughts of this intersection that is really underdeveloped, which is just like what is generative AI going to do in higher education and to maybe a slightly less degree, but in healthcare as well. So I'm excited to I don't know if we're pioneers together or what the analogy is, but to kind of go on a journey together. So I'll back up. I'll say apologies if you can hear it. Hopefully, team's background is helping, but we're getting a new door today. They didn't tell me they're showing up. So if you hear a little hammering in the background, it is a leaky door that is now being replaced in my old house. So hopefully the Microsoft tech is going to support us on that challenge. So I have kind of three things prepared today. One is a real-time demonstration of how to use generative AI today or in the next couple of weeks for your job. And I tested it this morning and we're good and it works. And sometimes the demo powers that be don't always cooperate, but fingers crossed it'll work in real time. So that's one thing, is a live demonstration of just how to use generative AI today. Two, I'll back up a little bit and go through just conceptually where we're at today, and some, I think, really interesting graphics and data visualizations of what the penetration of AI around the world. And then thirdly, into how I think going forward, higher ed should maybe start thinking about how we're going to use generative AI in your classrooms, in your offices, in your reporting, whatever role you have. And so we're getting very specific, not prescriptive, but really focused at Microsoft of taking people's job roles and breaking them down into pieces. And so I'll go through some very common business roles like finance, HR, IT, I think marketing, and just going through that exercise, which I think is really a prerequisite going forward for leaders to lead their teams and their larger university or hospital into thinking about how are we going to approach AI that's going to realize the power that it is around increasing productivity, increasing creativity, and increasing wellness for the end user. And that's really where Microsoft stands on the topic of we need to do all three of those things and not just, make widgets faster, because people are not widget makers. They're much more than that. So making sure we're approaching and building tools and services that align to the end user as a human and not just a cog in the machine. So, but I guess I'll make this big for those on a smaller screen today. So I will jump into what I think is my favorite graphic of 2023. And this is a graphic that completely blows my mind. As someone who, is kind of I think they call me a geriatric millennial is technically what I am age-wise. And so growing up with a mobile phone, growing up not knowing what the world looked like before the internet, growing up in high school, having access to Facebook, and then now ChatGPT, of kind of some big pillars in the last 20 years, digital revolution, of just thinking of how much faster ChatGPT has reached 100 million users than those other things, right? Where if you think, everyone and their grandma has Facebook, ChatGPT has done that over 100 times faster than what Facebook had accomplished and what the internet has accomplished, let alone mobile phones. And so that line there, it's not exactly vertical, but you got to squint pretty hard to understand that it's not vertical. But going from 0 users to 100 million users in record-breaking time is something that just is both exciting and scary. And I hopefully throughout my presentation today, you'll hear me talk about ChatGPT and services like it as both tools and weapons. And we have to be very careful, just like any other thing. Like I don't know, I have a lot of little ones at home. So a butcher knife, it's a tool and a weapon, right? It's very scary if it's in the hand of a 2-year-old, but it's very awesome in the hand of a chef. So understanding these tools, that on one side there's all these potentials to it, but we have to be really responsible and how these tools are deployed, and think very mindfully of what impact we want them to have, including things like data security, privacy, regulations that we're all required to follow here in the US. So I want to make sure through my presentation I present both sides of some of those things. So one thing, just background, and I'll reference this some Microsoft research throughout the presentation and into influencing kind of where we're going next as well. And the big thing from that is just have to remember, we have obviously customers throughout the world. We keep close tabs on about 31,000 of them across 31 countries through different services, LinkedIn, Microsoft 365, academic research. And we use that as part of the influence to what we do and how we think about problems and solutions that we might try to solve. So I think I'll be a little bit contrarian to begin with. Of digital debt is costing us innovation. So there's a interesting thing that comes with the frictionless experience of just a Zoom call away, or you're just a Teams call away, or you're just an email away from someone. The reduction of friction between collaboration actually is, from an end user's perspective, causing a lot of problems. It's I've called it the collaboration tax, if you will. So almost 2 out of 3, or over 2 out of 3 employees report that they don't have enough time or energy to do their job. That's alarming statistic. I know in healthcare and education, I don't even want to know that number, because I have all dollars in my pocket. I'll bet that in education and in healthcare, that number is even higher, that employees feel burdened at work. Over half of employees, their time is spent communicating, and less than half of it is spent creating. So the idea behind some of the trend lines I see around that is people want to spend time creating that new, interacting with employees, interacting with patients. How do we do that? How do we have technology help us do that? More human-facing activities and less of the mundane digital components that our institutions ask us to do. So, with AI, is it a solution for that? I think time will tell if how much of a solution and revolutionary tool it will be for everyone. I, have bet my career and most of my last 2 years of work that it's going to be a good thing for organizations like healthcare and organizations in education, especially higher ed. So we know that half of all users are worried that AI will replace a part or all of their job. The headlines are out there. I'm sure they're out there today. Your local publications are in the last month of like, what is AI going to do to someone who does data entry? What is AI going to do to anything manual across our institutions and physical, our digital institutions? And then at the same time, almost 3 out of 4 employees want AI to do something for them. Like maybe it's a remote task. Maybe it's something they do every day and they don't want to repeat it. Maybe, I'll focus on marketing today for my demo. Maybe they don't want to, take some content and chop it up 5 different ways for the 5 different platforms U of L markets on. Like maybe they don't want to take the story of the new research, rewrite it for Facebook, rewrite it for Twitter, or X, rewrite it to make a video on YouTube. And so maybe we can use AI to take the original content that is created through an interview or some kind of interaction with the research that U of L just produced, and then being able to just automate that with a click of a couple buttons, and be able to have those Facebook posts ready, those Twitter posts ready, those press release ready, that YouTube video ready. That's the world that I think quote unquote a marketing person might want to see, and these hopefully answer some of that data. So principles that we want to understand that and be very frank. And I'll jump in the chat here at the end of my conversation if there's any questions around this, which might be the most important question right now facing our industry, is just understanding like what are the principles of your AI. Microsoft has principles we encourage, and I've talked to some people on your security team. We encourage you all to have written principles that are displayed on your website of how we're going to or how we're not going to use generative AI. A lot of universities have published this with the help of Microsoft for kind of like the back to school time frame. So there's plenty of examples out there of institutions that are displaying their AI principles. Our biggest one is your data is your data. So we want to make sure like the data that you have or input or utilize in our platform isn't used to train models. No one else looks at it. It's your property and your organization's property. Skipping ahead a little bit faster here with some of those PSAs and platform setting topics. We want to one last thing before I jump into the second leg of the conversation today, is making sure that this is not just for information workers. This isn't just for people who are in front of a traditional laptop or portal every day. We really want to think of AI as something for all end users. So quote unquote frontline worker is what Microsoft terms the very broad and diverse group of people who are out doing things every day and not sitting like myself behind a desk. And so I think of the person fixing my door right now. Like how is that company using AI? The person that's in facilities, the doctor that's making rounds, the nurses that are making rounds, the student facing people, the athletic department. Like what are all those people who are, they might have a device in their pocket, or they might have a smaller device that goes with them around them every day. But this isn't just about people sitting behind a desk and doing their information or white collar work more and quicker. This is about all users, and we want to build solutions that are for all workers, or at least versions of it that makes sense for frontline workers versus other personas. So the one thing that is, I don't know if it's turned on at U of L. It should be. It's free for U of L and higher education institutions. Is Bing Chat Enterprise. So Bing Chat Enterprise is built on Chat GPT. It's the same tool. It's the most modern tool. It's Chat GPT 4 to get a little geeky with you. So OpenAI charges, I believe it's $20 per user per month right now for this version of Chat Agent. And what Microsoft did, or what we actually learned about 6 months ago, is that people or end users were um, not intentionally, but leaking personal data to these chat agents that were not held by the same standards that their organizations were asking them to do. So, for example, there were financial institutions that were taking, people's data, their financial data, copying and pasting it, being like, "Hey, help me, build a plan, a wealth plan for this user, or the small business owner has these sets of problems. ChatGPT, help me, devise a plan for them." And really well intended, but the problem is like that that data isn't necessarily airtight or locked, as you would say. Like if you read the fine print, we don't want users to be sending things, especially in university setting, PHI or HIPAA protected data into third-party sources unless your security team and your compliance team have explicitly approved that source. And I don't want to, fearmonger anyone, but I know that your security team has an eye on this. I think conversations with them should always happen before you go and use a third party source for your job related issues. I would never want someone to get in trouble intentionally or not intentionally by wanting to do this. So Microsoft built this, made it free, just so to solve that problem of like, your entry spot into the world of generative AI is usually through, a simple chat agent. And we want to make sure, this data isn't saved, no one looks at it, it's not used to train models. And how we protect you is we use your identity. So for this person here, this demo, her identity is tied to Bing Chat Enterprise. So wherever they go, they know they're like, okay, she belongs to University of Louisville, and in that states, we know that she is safe to use this platform, and we're going to make sure we have those protections set up. So in Bing Chat Enterprise, I think this is a quick. I can talk over the video. And so coming the big highlights here, then I'll show you a real life example on my own browser, is you're able to prompt it to ask you just about anything. So that's pretty cool, right? So this person's asked to write a sales pitch and tagline for e-bike company. Anyone else who uses e-bike out there knows how fun they are. So this is a fun demo for me with as an e-bike lover. There's things that can be technical and not technical. So you can put it into different formats like tables. It cites the sources. Another nice thing about Bing Chat Enterprise, besides price point being free, is it uses the internet up to today. So if you went to OpenAI right now and you asked it, who is the president? They would say, we don't know the president. We're only trained onto data up until 2021. Whereas Bing Chat Enterprise would know like up to date that, the president today is President Biden. And that's really helpful for doing things, across the spectrum of your job, because your job might be, not only just ideas you have that is data you have, but you might want to react to real data. So I will pull up an example I did this morning that I'm going to. Here's the research. Okay, so if you're still looking at my screen here, you're gonna know. So Bing Chat Enterprise can just, be a website, but it's also able to live in the right hand column. So I just click. I'm not gonna click it now because it might mess up my demo here. But if you click on this, I don't know what we're calling this, blue bubble, and you're able to look at, I think this is the most recent press release from U of L. Really awesome research extending the usable life of a heart tissue. I mean, life-changing stuff, right? We want to stream this from the mountaintops of what it can be. Unfortunately, this publication has 38 views. 38 views know about this from this source. I say that's underwhelming and not enough. So what I thought of an idea that might be interesting to do, and again, this is one of 1 million use cases, is take this data or this press release, and I just asked Bing Chat Enterprise, please create 15 emojis with this from this article with appropriate emojis. So please create 15 tweets from this article with appropriate emojis. And I'm not going to count them in front of you, but it went through and created 15 posts with appropriate emojis. And I would that's draft one. It's never the final draft. I would have to read through them if I'm actually posting this on official U of L Twitter or different things. But we could keep going and say, give me 10 posts, 10 Facebook posts of 20 words about this press release and cite the source as a link after each post. So hopefully it works. So Bing Chat Enterprise is writing those 10 Facebook posts of 20 words or fewer with the citations here from, read more, learn, see now, find out more, discover more. And what's really exciting about this is obviously I am not a social media or marketing person. I'm actually a terrible writer. And I want to be very clear. One of the surprising benefits we've learned at Microsoft from, this first early dawn of the era of AI is that it upskills workers. You put me in the seat of a social media marketing manager at U of L, and I would crawl under the desk and cry all day. Like I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be so terrified to like actually write and publish information. And your entry-level social media person or marketing person who has 5 other jobs, they're just, able to spend 5-10 hours a week on social media, which wouldn't surprise me in this era of budgetary cuts. They're able to just do this, this 5 hours of work for social media. Like, I just unskilled Lincoln just cranked this out in 2 prompts, and I would just have to copy and paste it into whatever um, social media tool you use to manage it, if it's not just like, directly to the social media site itself. And I'm able to do that, with a couple clicks, cites the source. We want more people seeing this and promoting the brand of U of L, right? Like, we just want more and more content out there. And one of the things, I talk about the benefits there of just being like super easy to create content for positive things like usable life of heart tissue. But the flip coin of that is other people who are just like posting garbage or, posting things, I don't know, nefarious social media, nefarious tools, nefarious, sales techniques, whatever, they also have access to these tools. So I think the pro and the con here of either the carrot or the stick of why we should be thinking about using generative AI in our daily use cases is because it's going to become the standard, because so much content will be created because it's so easy to create content, pretty soon. And I think if you're on the internet or on Twitter or YouTube, you can see some of the early adoptions of being able to say like, well, okay, social media is cool, but I want to create a video off of this. I want to take this photo of this young graduate researcher says, and being able to say like, mock up an interview of that person explaining how they did that using maybe their picture or a short video about them that we have. And you'll be able to create a video, that appears like they're speaking to this content, which is super engaging, fun, interesting. But at the same time, we have to be careful on the ethics of all that. And while I trust that U of L has super high ethics, I don't know if everyone out there does. So we have to be, goes into security concern, or even like Microsoft, when we talk about, and it's out there, not to be a lightning rod, but out there of just like, what does that do for democracy and like fake videos and fake contents and all that scary stuff. So I don't want to scare anyone with my call. Hopefully it's empowering at the end. But at the same time, like, these tools are being used to create content at a couple clicks of a button and a couple keystrokes, also can be used for nefarious and not well intended for bad actors. So it's an interesting space. I think it's a conversation that we always need to continue to have, to both have ethics and principles around our AI usage, and make sure that it's only getting in the hands of the people that we trust are going to use it appropriately. So with that kind of sidebar, I'll pause and take a sip of coffee and open up any questions or from the chat that anyone wants to highlight or wants to just verbalize, kind of halfway through my content and my TED Talk here.
So we have a question about how do we get access to Bing Chat Enterprise?
Yeah, it's your IT has to turn it on until they have the option to turn its default off until the end of September, and then it's default on. So your IT hypothetically could always have it off for whatever reason. I don't know what reason that would be, because it's safe and secure and free. So I can raise it if it's not on for you today. I'm guessing your IT hasn't turned moved the button from off to on in their admin portal, but I could ask that of them. Sorry that I assumed that I was on. Most higher ed institutions saw it and turned it on. And if that employee is from a different organization, I can find out how to get to that person too.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question? Do you find it scary? Do you find it exhilarating? A little bit of all? Beth, terrifying. It can be, but
I personally, ask me throughout the day. Sometimes really excited about it, and then other times I'm very scared of it. So I'm with the mixed emotions, two emotions at once. Well, I will skip to some other content and thoughts, and I'm gonna leave the group with some homework of if you listen to NPR or your local public radio. There's an announcement that was made yesterday that I'm gonna drop for everyone as light listening on your commute or walking the dog later today. But that will come at the very end. I'm gonna highlight just probably in my world, my world, what I spend a lot of time thinking about and talking to higher education customers about is Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is only being used right now by I think it's like 98 or 100 organizations in the world. And what it does, I might come back here. So it's the same engine that you see in Chat GPT, through OpenAI or Bing Chat Enterprise, as I kind of showed there some examples. It's all using our cloud, which is called Azure, and a service in Azure called OpenAI. And all of these things that you see, you know, through I guess Adobe, through LinkedIn, through a lot of organizations. There's other models being developed by third parties like Facebook and Google are starting to bring theirs to the marketplace as well. But Microsoft 365, Office, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all the apps built on top of those things, those are all using the same engine. So the idea behind it is to further democratize, to further make it accessible for these tools to use by not just early adopters, not people just like Sherry and people like Lincoln that are kind of geeking out and willing to kind of get into some uncharted waters to hack their life and make it a little bit easier, funner, entertaining, write a poem for their significant other really quick, or build a grocery list with one click of the button, or do social media sort of stuff like I've shown you today. For the meat and potatoes of your workday as a digital interface, Microsoft 365 Copilot allows you to bring that power into your work with security tied around your data. So, your data might be, the finance data if you are a business analyst for U of L, or if you are, maybe in HR, you're going to have access to a certain set of data that others wouldn't. And being able to plug in that data, if you will, to the Copilot or Microsoft 365 Copilot allows you to do all those things that you might do throughout the day. And I have some like hype little GIF short videos of what that looks like across the fundamental tools. And what it's designed to do is really just further make these tools accessible and democratic for adoption for the end user. And so the last, portion of my conversation today, I think I'm on the right direction here. Oh, oh, no, they should be shown even though they're hidden as optional. I don't think videos are ever optional. But so if you see here from my screen, document, Microsoft Word, tried and true, and you're able to access things in your OneNote or in your OneDrive, in your SharePoint from the internet to help you build things out. And not only is it the first draft, it can be the second, third, fourth, fifth draft. And how strong these tools are right now is that they are at the level of, they can pass law exams, they can pass MBA classes, they can pass CPA exams. They are from all sort of measures the best intern you're ever going to have that works all the time, doesn't get tired, doesn't take coffee breaks, doesn't take lunch breaks, and just is at your disposal all day, every day. So for this, simple document here from Word, it was just like, okay, we're going to create a proposal. Usually that might take someone like me, who, again, not a great writer. It might take me an hour to do this, from staring at the blank screen, anxiety, to getting the first draft, to getting it done. So this person in this hypothetical example used the meeting notes from their OneDrive, and then they added a template that has created or shared with them before. So using just those two documents, they're able to mash them together and create this draft one of this proposal. And then Copilot, again, it can live in the document or in your workflow or alongside of it. And you're able to maybe jazz it up a little bit, maybe add some images, maybe make it sound more informal or formal. Maybe add longer pricing components to it or more things to it. I think in this one, what does it do? Make it look like another one. So in pulling images from a PowerPoint, so you're able to do that, and this isn't hyperbole. Like that document that probably took at least an hour, if not 3-4 hours over multiple days, just took that end user maybe somewhere in the ballpark of 20 minutes to create something. So this is maybe more about me, less about you all, but I think the opportunity we have in data and storytelling is my most exciting part of it. It's just to share ideas, engage audiences, whether that audience is a student, whether that audience is prospective students and their parents and caregivers, wherever that audience is, you know, um, population level health conversations, whether that situation requires maybe different languages, all those things like that PowerPoint can do, just being able to do that so much quicker and so much more, I don't know, with ease, because like any end user, I use about 2% of what PowerPoint can do, from visualizations to videos to accessibility tools within it to formatting to next steps. Like I use nothing, like 5% of PowerPoint, and I use it every day. And just being able to, oh, I messed up the clicker here. Just being able to, again, some of these same tools, these same prompts that you'll be asked to probably learn or will become kind of a part of your workday, is what are my go-to prompts for Copilot, for Bing Chat Enterprise, for OpenAI, for fill in the blank, Adobe, and being able to look at these things and being able to say like, yep, I'm gonna keep it. Hey, on this one, let's make this a little more casual, a little more, but adding adding cost benefit slide. Awesome. Like keeping the same format, something like that. If you've ever, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here that can relate to me, if you ever tried to create a PowerPoint from scratch, this is never the end of what you can create by yourself. This takes like a marketing master to be able to have things like, perfectly aligned images, you know, the formatting here with everything to match the footnotes. Like all those things they seem easy when it's done, but if you ever stared at a blank spreadsheet, you know that it's just not something that's going to happen, or I might be alone in that. But being able to have the prompt be able to do that for you and to create this, would be so exciting. And I wish I personally don't have Copilot available to me as a Microsoft employee yet, but that day will come, and the content I'll be create will be so exciting to be able to do this and make things just even more personalized, even more specific, and useful for the end user. And then Excel, I don't know who's in the audience today. I tried to look up some people. I didn't see anyone who works more at an analytical point of view, but the analytical piece of view is just absolutely having something, that's that's at your fingertips to look at something like this that I'll do before they show the magic. This is a pretty intimidating spreadsheet, right? There's a lot of data here. You might think of your SIS system, your ERP system, your CRM system, and those are glorified spreadsheets. And it's awesome. And there's nuggets of insight in there, but usually it takes someone with the title of like, if not business analyst, data scientist, machine learning, to really pull out insight from those huge, large foundational data sets, and to start thinking about like, okay, what if we can just, ask this bot to analyze this quarter's business results and summarize what it says, and then ask it to visualize that. And to do that with 2 prompts, less than 2 minutes of work, and being able to have that done. And again, for those that dabble in Excel or dabble in data visualization, it's really hard to like, this is hours of work for me personally to get this just right, and to have the first draft and possibly the final draft ready for me just save me, I don't know, like I would say 2 to 3 hours a week easy from my specific role and responsibility. And that's expensive time. Like, Microsoft pays me a significant amount of compensation, and what this allows me to do is save time and go work on tasks that OpenAI and generative AI cannot do. And that's like human facing thing, and understanding problems and communicating in a way that's just not possible today. So I'll pause there, as I switch over, and if there's any questions, we can dive into it, and then I'll wrap it up with I'll start with, sorry, I have to, once a teacher, always a teacher. I'll end up, before I give you your homework at the end of this, with about 10 to 15 minutes of maybe the future or the next steps to bringing this closer to home and closer to your day-to-day work. So I'll pause here as I switch decks for a moment and give Sherry a little moment to
Oh,
highlight anything.
thank you. This is fascinating. Deb Deering wants to know if she wants to analyze our marketing campaigns, uh, can she use Copilot? And if I put it in data, it can make graphs, etc.
Yes,
So we have access to that now.
it's not available in education yet. It's still
Okay.
in preview, private preview, I think is the proper term. So it goes private preview, public preview, generally available. So we're still in the first leg. Um, there will be some higher education institutions in the US that will be piloting it for the next couple months. But coming to a theater near you is that stuff, which is exciting. And just because it's not available, that doesn't mean we can't plan for it, because I
Okay.
think even if it was available today, I would hope and am certain your security and data people would be like, tell me exactly how exactly this works, and we can give access to this person for marketing data, but we don't want, this is an example of a bad joke to begin with, but I'll repeat it. When a person, maybe in career services, wants to build a deck or analyze data about biology salaries, they're asking for biology salaries for students looking forward. They do not and should not have access to the salaries of the biology department. And so there's, underneath that hood there is some stuff we're not going to go into today, but making sure that like that user that's tied to your identity is tied to certain data sets, and that identity has access or does not have access to certain data sets. So no one in your organization has access to all the data, and probably no one in your organization has access to no data. So making sure, and Microsoft has stuff to work with your IT to make sure that is safe and confident. So when they turn that on for probably test users like the ones on the call today, they can confirm that like, hey, we're not getting access to confidential data and things like that. And there's built-in guardrails throughout that process.
That's wonderful, Lincoln, and so glad that you're talking about the ethical concerns as well as we move forward. Something to note is all of our state institutions' salaries are wide open. So
That's true. Yeah. We don't, it's like kind of like we feel the same way about this. I don't know. This is the Lincoln. I should preface 90% of the stuff I say today is the Lincoln's opinion, but we feel the same way about students using, probably an elephant in the room, students using generative AI. At Microsoft, we're not naive to know that students are going to go find and use these tools from third parties for good reason and not good reasons, until as a university we can figure out some of the ethical ways to, we want to make sure students are using the brains how we want them to use them, and not have someone else do a report for them and blah blah blah. We are not opening, right now, opening up these tools to students
okay,
in where they can't pull up Word, in the future. What our roadmap looks like right now, a student won't be able to open up Microsoft Word and say like, give me this is a high school prompt, but like, give me, a 5-paragraph essay about the solar system. We're not naive to know that student will be able to go do that elsewhere, paid or not paid, but they're not going to get it from Microsoft.
Okay.
So that's kind of our stance. I know it's a little bit of a shaking our fist at the moon, knowing that we can't move the moon, but until we figure it out and have a little bit more stance on exactly how our position is going to be, we're just saying not yet for a lot of these tools for student facing.
Okay. That makes sense. I have a couple other questions. Is it okay if I ask
Yeah,
those
yeah,
now?
yeah. This is great. I just have, yeah, please.
If Microsoft is doing, what does that mean for how long it'll take? Yeah, how long will it take to roll out? And then could it assist with Microsoft Forms and Power Automate?
Yeah, I love how that person's question is after my own heart. Yes, to those things. So you could take something to that person. I worked through this with a different organization. So Copilot, I should clarify, Copilot for Power Automate for that person in the crowd that I'm now speaking to is available today. So you can go into this platform where it connects different applications together and strings them together. So maybe you get a student interest form coming into some site and it triggers a email to an enrollment officer to like call them or whatever. And that's available today. So you can just, with natural language, say like, I want to connect when a student, again, when someone likes my Twitter post, I add them as a follower. Like you can do that with Power Automate is a really silly example. And you're able to now, instead of being able to having to be more technical in connecting those Lego pieces together, you can just tell Copilot for Power Automate, I want to do this. And then it'll give you like draft one of that architecture. And then if it looks good, you can say put it into production. So feel free if that person's in the chat, I'll grab their info and could connect with them offline to go through some of those more technical flows.
Okay, it's Brooke Whitaker. And then I have another one from Deb Deering. Will an email go out to U of L when Microsoft Bing is turned on? Bing is turned. Everybody can access Microsoft Bing, so it's the Automate, right? It's the Copilot that we're waiting on, and I'm sure some type of an announcement will be made. If not, we'll make sure that we have it in our newsletter.
I do have. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just answered that for you, didn't I, Lincoln?
You did. You did the question and the answer. Great teacher.
They're going to have to watch me. Okay, this one I cannot answer. Can we trust the Copilot tool, and will it always be 100% accurate?
Yeah, I would say to the second answer, no. I would say to both answers, I would not even trust but verify came to mind first. I would not say trust but verify. I would say verify then trust.
Oh.
Like think about like, okay, like approach this, like, yes, Microsoft. Oh, I'm starting to look at the chat. I got it. I'll get distracted if I look at the chat. Microsoft is, I think, at the forefront of this. It's, ranked all sorts of proxy rankings as like ethical company. Don't get me wrong. Very exciting stuff. But if I'm an end user and I'm looking at and I'm protecting my students like I used to do, like they're my own kids, I would verify before trusting, and then I would trust and verify of these tools and making sure that we understand. And sometimes you have to, understand that like your data stewards are sometimes part of the security team. They need to understand not just regulatory. I think there's one level of regulation here of making sure HIPAA information, personal identifier, FERPA stuff, all that is those boxes are checked. Yes, like the Microsoft legal and lawyers have checked all that. Things around copyright is probably a cup of coffee for another day to understand like copyright concerns with all this and how Copilot's built around current copyright laws in the US and the world. But the thing you have to understand is like you have to make it comfortable for you. Like I think if we look back at how the internet and social media, like that original graph that I showed, has changed, how kids, how teenagers, how their brains develop, mental health concerns, like all those things that we didn't probably think about when we first saw the internet. I didn't first log into Facebook, as a 14-year-old or whatever and be like, wow, this is really gonna mess up or not mess up. This is really going to impact some people's mental health.
Yeah.
Like you don't think about that until, so I think not saying like this time around we're going to figure it out sooner, but I think we just need to ask the question sooner of like, well, what impact does this have? Not what benefits does it have, like what other things, and my homework assignment has to deal with some of that, but yeah, so can you trust it? I don't know. Like, how do you trust other things? And then use that framework to approach this. Because I think I hate the cliche in technology of move fast and break things. I think we should really like discern and think about what things we should build with these tools, and really really stop and back up and make sure like, is this how we want to do it? What are the impacts to it? And sorry, I forgot that I was still showing them on the screen here.
Yeah, someone asked about Bing Chat Enterprise at U of L, and I'll say again that Lincoln has stated that he's going to chat with IT here at U of L to find out when Bing Chat Enterprise might be available, and we'll make sure and get that news back out to us. And we at the DTC can also be doing that.
Yeah, and I think locking arms on that topic and many others going forward. I'll share this last leg of the show today. The sitcom probably is what you're all thinking of starting to think of, what does this mean for my role? And I don't know your role, and your specific roles are probably different than what they are on paper. Your job description on paper, that's how it works when you're good at your job. Like the high school principal who also has to drive the bus, sort of thing that happens in education often. But really trying to get closer and be more useful, not just of building the tech, throwing it over the fence and saying good luck to you, but getting really granular on being able to say like, okay, here, I make it, some of this is redundant to what you've seen, but to think of something like, I'll pick on HR. I don't know if there's any HR people here today, but HR does a lot of things, and these roles and responsibilities, these rectangles, someone might do more of just one of them or a handful of them, but we generally are thinking about business functions right now, of being able to like, what part of this is just busy work? And how do we get rid of some of these admin tasks? I know it's a stereotype and kind of a cliche. What are some of these admin tasks that HR has to do every day, all day, to create a safe and welcoming community that U of L aims to be? And so when we think of that, we're like, okay, day in the life. I think there's a day in the life at the end of this. Yep, day in the life of an HR employee is, crafting job descriptions using Word and some of those features we saw before, summarizing interview notes using Teams. So Teams has a transcript. That transcript can then be put into a format that might make sense for your hiring system, or, questions around, kind of on the negative side or the more uncomfortable side, the compliance side of it too, to making sure that like, this person said that they had experience doing this thing. Later on, if that isn't validated, okay, that's grounds for, rescinding the offer. Like maybe the person said, this is hypothetical, said they were a lawyer. We figured out they were able to practice law in Kentucky. Okay, that's a problem. We have a transcript and we can summarize it, and we saw that, and we're going to back up and say like, that we're going to rescind that offer. And then draft, that's a little morbid and dark thing, but trust but verify. Then draft the offer, of being able to say, okay, we can draft an offer letter to this person, Maya, and being able to say, we can include the start date, include the details of the benefit package, and if it's connected to your HR system, I don't know what your HR system or ERP is right now, but Microsoft has a lot of partnerships in the space where you can say, and include the salary information for job number 12345, and being able to say like, okay, we know what that means. We can bring it in from Workday, SAP, wherever, and bring that into your daily thing. Salaries isn't really interesting. You could think of, you could think of enrollment as being huge for this, but I want to go to one more and then I'll pause because I've kind of worn up my time. AI for marketing. I think this applies. Someone else has mentioned about marketing before, so I'll kind of go back to that one more time. I'm just thinking of if this is true for your team, it's great. I think if it's not, I'll be able to like articulate, these are all the things we do. As a marketing department, it can be inclusive of everyone's job. I know there's overlap with a lot of roles, but overall, we want to learn about budget constraints, what trends are going on, what is the ROI of our last marketing campaign. We just, we just went to, you know, we sent out recruiters to 5 campuses in Eastern Kentucky. What was the ROI of that? And being able to just ask those questions. We have the data and it's your data. You should have access to it. And I know those questions I asked were like traditional marketing questions of the visualization component to it, but being able to be really help out. So here in Teams, using Teams and Microsoft Loop, which is a tool available to you as well, that's new, of being able to just help with things like brainstorming, of setting the table, of just saying, how do we eliminate this writer's block and get to a point where this marketing person, they manage a 5-person marketing team and be like, here's what they could use Copilot for, generative AI, OpenAI for, in the future. And so this doesn't have to be a Microsoft thing. Like I think, there's plenty of good examples out there. All I can speak to is I know Microsoft and its data and security um, priorities makes this really exciting to bring this to higher ed and healthcare, because I know and I can explain, and maybe it's just my own limited knowledge of the world. I know that this is really close to being ready for higher education mainstream usage to really help out higher ed in a time of um, budget crunches, enrollment plateaus, student retention numbers being maybe sliding a little bit, and just really being able to help with the institution maintain its importance in the greater economic region, and being able to really like help people again elevate their roles of being able to increase productivity, increase creativity. And with those things, when people are, feel like their contributions are useful, they're more engaged and happier employees. And I think that's the part that gets me really exciting, is seeing someone who, maybe is like, I'm so like, I have to do this job for 5 years before I get promoted or whatever it is. And be like, no, you don't have to wait 5 years to start doing these things. And, Copilot will help you scaffold those skills until you have them. So you could start, you never have to start with a blank piece of paper or blank social media calendar or blank fill in the blank. You will able to just have that, prompt ready to create the first draft, the second draft, and the third draft, and at the same time allow your teammates to collaborate better, for whatever department, whatever team dynamic you're on. And I think that's really exciting. So what we're doing with a lot of higher eds right now, so I cover like the quote unquote central region, like anywhere, I think it's like 200 miles from the Mississippi, more or less, is like what I cover in the world. And we go through this for each of their departments. So obviously there's academic departments as well. And so being able to say like, okay, day in the life of this role or this team, what do they do every day? How do we help them? And as it relates to the Digital Transformation Center, how do we empower them to make sure if they're like kind of um, maybe concerned or a little bit intimidated by these tools, like how do we demystify them to help them build out the day in the life? Because the promise here is to save 3, 4, 5, maybe more hours a week in mundane tasks, or increase levels of productivity. And that is I think quite the idea of 5 hours a week times roughly 50 working weeks in the year. That's a lot of time, and that's a lot of time, that's a lot of value that you can be used doing other things, whether it's for yourself or for your role. That makes me super excited, and I'm a little caffeinated right now, and so maybe overly enthusiastic, but really just like really excited about this chapter of generative AI, because I think to that question of trust before, like people are asking the right questions. Like that question should be asked every day. Like, how do we trust this? How do we verify this? I need to understand what this is. And that puts pressure on your leadership and mine to be able to articulate why it's trustworthy, why we can validate its ethical and principles. Then we know the stuff. Like we know the cool, and I showed you some of them, guilty of it, the cool video that's, sexy and sleek and fun, and being able to say like, wow, I just did, all my to-do list in 2 minutes. Like that's exciting and fun, but we first have to be able to understand the ethics, security, and compliance concerns so that end users can trust the tool and then they can, dive in head first and utilize the tool. So last thing, as I try to fight off sneezing here, is I'm going to it's on this page. I'm gonna drop in a couple light listening, light reading things for the team. This is a person. It's more on the academic side of higher ed, but his just really in the weeds of Microsoft is sharing this person's blog post, quoting him. I think pretty much he's just like an informal honorary employee at Microsoft right now. He's a professor at Wharton School of Business. I don't know what he was doing before he became famous on blogs and podcasts and all that, but I think he explains it really, really great. I'll start from the beginning. There's not 1,000 of them. There's probably like 12, and just really helping demystify some of these things without product names or really tons of technical background. But there's some really awesome things like this one in particular about just the future need for knowing your prompts, because you can just say like, create 10 tweets, but you could also say create 10 tweets with a happy, joyful disposition tone and make them accessible for someone who reads on the ninth grade level. And getting your prompts really fine-tuned, I think is one for those early adopters, like people like Sherry and myself and some other folks I know at U of L, pushing that further. So recommend everything he writes down on this topic. The other one that was just announced yesterday is a familiar voice. If you've ever listened to, it's on every morning. So if you listen to NPR, you hear it every morning. But Molly Wood used to be the co-host of Planet Money, which comes on at 10 to the hour every hour in the morning for National Public Radio. And her voice was probably gone for the last month or so because she was transitioning to work at Microsoft, and she hosts a podcast and kind of creative director of a lot of her thing around this kind of future of work. And the podcast is called Work Lab, but the future of work is just really awesome, fairly short, digestible things that kind of go through some of these questions and concerns that, I guess I'm just a fan, but I think it's this really helpful stuff to, again, help us get some context to that really vertical adoption graph that we're seeing of generative AI, and make sure we're getting it into a spot that's going to create happy and productive employees who want to, produce their own empowerment and produce their organization's empowerment. So I'll drop those in the chat and I'll stop sharing my screen. So I will, so anyone else, I think I see Sherry's on, lose audio or muted herself. She might have had to go sneeze. Any questions that I'll answer these in the chat here, once my time's up, and not waste your time reading them. But
Okay.
I am open to any other questions. I think we got just a couple minutes. Probably need a quick coffee break before the next session, and I'll give everyone 5 minutes back for good behavior.
We have one question, I think, is all that's left in here to answer, and that is, once U of L decides that Bing Chat Enterprise is going to be open to us, how do we turn it on? Do we log into bing.com, or do we log in just using our U of L email?
Yeah, great question. Let me see if I can do it with any sort of. So yeah, so you can go to, what is it? I think it's, so, okay, it's even easier than this. And again, sorry for the drilling. Oh, no, I don't want to search. So if you go to Bing's homepage, it lives right here, and it's another tab. So if you're searching up, I should on women's basketball. But so this is a normal search piece to it, right? Bing.com, very common search engine stuff. And there's two ways to get there. You can actually scroll up to Bing Chat Enterprise, and it lives there, and I'll start giving you some data around that. I'm logged in as my work. This is my work alias.
Okay.
Logged in through my work, and that's key to this because it's tied to University of Louisville. So it knows, it authenticates you coming in, and then doesn't know what you do after that, but it just authenticates you coming in. So you have access to Bing Chat Enterprise because you're a member of University of Louisville. So that's the gatekeeper part of it. And then you can either, go to bing.com or what I was showing before, bing.com/chat. Yeah. And then the other piece to it that I showed before is with if you're on Microsoft Edge, which is the browser, you'll see here in the top right corner Bing Chat icon that's kind of obnoxiously large, and that is where I popped it out to see and chat with the page that I was looking at, and then you can also compose things too. But I usually just use this for, and that's where I created these things. Does that help? That's probably more information than the question warranted, but
That's good.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and a lot of work that goes into this. So thanks to everyone who touched the preparation for this event to make your day awesome. I hope you're exhausted by the end of today, because these are big ideas and takes a lot of horsepower to really get your mind around them. So I admire everyone who's joining the call today, because I know it's a volunteer thing to get here, and it's an effort to make the world a better place. And I'm here for that. So appreciate your work and the work you will do, and hopefully I can help you get to that finish line a little quicker.
Lincoln, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be right back. We've got about 3 minutes before our next speaker.